Oh, yeah.
Right.
You can do it that way.
Yeah, we're gonna have it covered.
We're live on the internet.
Tommy cracked me up last week.
With the Wild Bob and Tommy
Yeah.
show.
He, started doing a Napa commercial, and he looked at me and said,
You on back
gonna,
already?
he said, you ain't gonna ask me what Napa stands for, are you? I said, no. Tommy said, what does it stand for, Bob? I was laughing the next 5 minutes. I don't know how much that aggravates.
I kinda like that Wild Bob and Tommy part myself.
Oh, Bob and Tommy.
Yeah.
I see you're ready out there. You got transportation. If your main quits, you got plenty in the back.
Yeah,
You got a horse with you?
I got 2 bicycles in the back.
No.
One quits, he's got another one.
Get you one of them razor boys.
That truck's ugly to the 2 sacks. I had to have 2 bicycles.
Well, I understand the 2 sacks, I just don't understand the 2 bicycles.
Well, it may be on its last leg, you know. I've been meaning to put, tires on a little, so I got 2 real nice little swing bikes, you know. And, I finally got them down, put 4 inner tubes in them today.
How'd you get 4 inner tubes?
2 on each one.
Oh, 2 bikes, okay. I know we,
It's fair.
I know, you ever take a bicycle tire and cut the bead off of it, put one inside the other because the one had so many holes in it?
Well, I've had that happen,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've
We
tried
called
that
them boots back in them days.
Yeah, but it doesn't run the whole tire. Uh-huh. Yeah.
My first bicycle had been handed down to 3 of my previous brothers. And you think it wasn't all the pieces.
Well, my first one, I believe Bob been stolen 3 times.
And I had one worth stealing.
Well, my first one didn't have any brakes,
No brakes.
no brakes. And I got tired of it, and it didn't have one with the right kind of hub in the back. In other words, when you took your foot off the pedals, it just kept turning. And my aunt lived out the road, and I'd ride it out there, and I couldn't ride up the driveway because it was steep, so I pushed up there, and I got tired of having to walk it down the hill, you know. I just, just didn't make sense to me to have to walk it down the hill, but it had no brakes, and it was like this. So, one day I decided I was gonna ride her down the hill. Now, you go down there, and just on the other side of the road, it drops way off, and there's a barbed wire fence down there on that side. And I go zooming down through there, holding it as long as I could, and going as slow as I could, and I got down there, and I made my turn, and I just about made it. I got right over to the edge of the road, and just gently slid down the hill, side on the side, you know. I didn't try it where I walked it down, you know.
Now, you was wearing your helmet and all your
I was,
knee
and I called ahead to make
guards.
sure they had the traffic
Yeah,
stopped.
knee guards and whatever.
Y'all have a bicycle hill?
And
We had a
was
bicycle
all-
hill. We made it out in the country,
Yeah.
but it was straight down.
Uh,
You didn't try to use your brakes on that thing.
We used to take these old wagons and build them up and take them riding down through the woods and wreck them on hell, kept them getting killed. But you'd do well if you get to ride one that day, because usually the slaughter it's so bad you have to go back and nail it back together. And we'd work all day getting something to go ride through the woods, hit a tree with it.
Now, I know
walk
you've
down.
ridden tires down hillside, you know, get inside a big truck tire,
Oh, Lord.
brace yourself in and go. Somebody give you a push. And we used to ride, Dad worked for a furniture company, so we used to ride washing machine tubs down the hill. Now, when you hit a stump or a tree, them things hurt. Well, like them tires would bounce off.
You know what made the best sled?
Car hood.
No, it's too big. You remember them old Warren stoves had them there jackets on them?
Yep.
Well, them side jackets.
Ceramic.
Yeah, them side jackets, they was coated with, based on enamel.
Was it
But-
ceramic? Porcelain.
Yeah. mhm.
Porcelain, yeah.
And you know, the sides were rounded on each end, and they were just the right size for a fella to get in there and sit down. Boy, they'd do some moving.
You know, it's amazing how we entertain ourselves. If
We had
nowadays,
skiing before, Gatlinburg, didn't we?
Yep, yep.
you know where South Cumberland's at?
Mm-hmm.
That's where we rode off of. And that was before it was paved.
South Cumberland.
Uh-huh. If you're going up Beach Street, it's 10th Street, turns right up that hill.
Oh, yeah.
That's where we rode off of. And I had the record. I could ride off there, across Beach Street, and probably go about 30 feet on out there.
You know where's over here, you know where the tank's at over here, don't you, in West End?
Yeah.
We was riding there one night, a whole bunch of us, and the snow was good there on the hill, and then they'd graded the roads down here at the bottom. I come down through there by myself, and I had somebody else's, but I had a real sled, you know, honest to goodness.
You talking about store-bought?
Yeah, buddy.
Wow.
I come down through there, I rode down that hill, and I got down there, and everybody just been stopping when they got down there, and they run out of snow, and I had that pretty good momentum, and I just stayed on it, and I rode across the pavement, the sparks were flying, just looked like, you know, fireworks. I go right on down and hit snow again all the way, I went all the way down to, down there at the church house down there at, West Folliday, I guess it is. From the tank all the way down there.
Yep.
And I crossed two roads where there wasn't no snow. And both times I just set off the fireworks while going through.
I bet that helped them runners.
Yeah, buddy, I had of course walking back up to the tank wasn't no fun.
Yep. Well, we lived up on South Cumberland. This is before I got to go to school. And that was our favorite pastime every
This
evening.
is not after they sent you back home, is it?
Well, no, this is before they finished the 3rd grade. But before I started school, we'd go out there and our favorite pastimes every day, stand out there and throw rocks at them kids that come through there. They're sick as dog on them.
Yeah, yeah, that's how you met your wife,
That's
buddy.
how I met my wife. Sure is. She lived at that down on the other street,
Yeah,
and she said, "Well, we got whenever we was going together, we got to swap
You
in
have to
histories.
hit her in the head with a rock
Well,
to
we
get
got
her
to
to marry you? Is
we-
that the way
no.
that works?
We got to swapping histories." And she said, "You lived there." Said, "You had a little white-headed kid that used to throw rocks at us all the time, sick a dog on us, ain't you?" She said, "Yep, that was me." And so,
Me there?
no, put your camera up on it.
Okay.
where are you set up at? I don't
No,
see
there it
it.
is.
Only the
okay.
We
best
got a
equipment.
roving camera operator.
Oh,
There you
okay.
go.
There
We
you
call
go.
her a rover.
Okay.
We ain't even started
We
yet.
ain't even started yet. Telling these old whatever stuff. I'll tell you a better one. These couple of fellers, I won't call their name, but there's about 4 or 5 of them, brothers, whatever. You know over where Walker's store is, you go down to the holler.
Mm-hmm.
They went down there on that steep part, and I don't know where they got, but they got on some lard.
Lord.
Yeah, you know them roads back then, the asphalt would get hot.
Have it putting lard in the road?
Well, the road would bleed. You know what I'm talking about when those shot and tarred roads.
Yeah,
Oh, they get slick as glass.
yeah.
But anyhow, they got the idea to pour this here cooking lard down through there that they got somewhere, and they was sliding down that, and having a high old time, buddy. And a little later on, here comes somebody in their vehicle. You ever watch them scatter?
Oh, boy.
Nobody know nothing about
Everybody
it.
said,
What was did I ever tell you about going to the tent revival down there?
no, was that snake handling or?
No, they wasn't snake handling, but this was one.
You guys used to have a carnival down there all the time too.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm listening.
We're gonna, anyhow, them Crutchfield boys up there, Young and Steve, he had a big red bone hound.
Yeah.
He's a young dog, you know, and they was having tent revival out there, and all us boys, you know, we just stand around on the outside out at the back. You know, we didn't go in and sit down or nothing like that. We just kind of experiencing what was going on. But anyhow, that preacher got in the mood. He got the Spirit moved him,
Yeah.
and he went to shouting and hollering and jumping around and beating on that podium. That big old red bone, he got kind of excited and thought it was time. He took off after him.
We're on the air, fellas.
Okay.
Finish telling this story. I
Well,
want to hear this.
Anyhow, that old dog took off after him, and he was running him around the podium. And you know how
Yeah.
Redbone's got a good deep voice. Well, what we did is we scattered, we run.
Yeah. Don't know that now, do you?
No, sir. And poor Steve, he was about to cry. He said they'll kill my dog and whatever else. And we got accused of seeking that dog on that preacher. And we didn't even think about that. We just started to enjoy the scenery mostly, I guess. But anyhow, his dog escaped and he didn't get killed.
You know what? You can't have fun, good, honest fun anymore. And another thing, kids don't have an opportunity to have fun. They're too busy staying in the house playing Nintendo and all that aggravation.
Boys, I don't understand this.
Welcome
Where
to
we
the
going
Wild
to?
Bob and Ronnie show. If you don't get our pre-show warm-up, then you ought to get us on UGG
You have
TV.
missed it.
Yeah, you can watch the reruns. It'll be stored up there on the internet.
We're gonna start selling clips from our show warm-up, you know.
Yeah, you can buy your own DVD of the more hilarious moments from the Wild Bob and Ronnie show. All you gotta do is just send us $38
It's,
and help us buy our airplane, and we'll send you a DVD.
Yeah, yeah.
are these pre-shows going to be, what is it, where they put the letter out there?
I guess if you
Unfit for.
yeah, if you want a transcript, just contact our transcription service.
Mercy.
Well, it would be interesting, really, you know, we're gonna supersede or take over and replace the Blaze. You know, the Blaze has replaced Fox on Dish Network because Fox is in a disagreement with Dish Network.
Yeah.
So the Blaze has replaced Fox, so we're
That's
gonna
pretty good.
replace.
I bet that's sweet for Glenn Beck, ain't it?
Yeah, we're gonna replace the Blaze is what we're gonna do, so.
Well, there's a lot of people that'd like to add a little blaze to us.
I bet so. We wanna welcome you again, folks, to the Wild Bob Ronnie Show. I believe we'll be coming on, won't be gonna hit the,
It's already on.
on the radio?
Yeah, buddy.
He didn't hit the light.
Yeah, it did.
Well, Neil couldn't hear.
You know,
but
they
didn't
say your eyes are the first thing to go.
Neil couldn't hear, but didn't know my eyesight had gone. But we want to welcome all of you to both the UGG TV, WLAF, 1450 WLAF.com, and to WLAF 1450 and WLAF 100.9.
We just all over the spectrum, man.
Yeah, we got plenty of
FCC's gonna
outlets.
take care of that sooner or later.
We got plenty of outlets, just wish we had something to outlet.
I figure the FCC, one of these days, will stop. Probably for the good of the community.
Yeah.
Things like what we're doing right here.
Right.
They'll put a stop to it.
Probably, well, they're working around to do that, you know.
We're losing every other liberty we
Yeah,
got.
probably
The
under,
FCC
I'm probably under the guise of stopping North Korea.
The FCC is gonna decide next month how they're gonna control the internet, and the Republicans are going right along with it.
Oh, I'm sure of that, yeah. Yeah,
Rhinos.
Well, fellas, I still think about it, that it bothers me what was done in the previous administration, and I ain't too happy about what's going on now about the County Powers Act and Rule 13 and being able to speak there at the county courthouse. You know, I
They
was,
repealed that, ain't they?
well, only part of it. They only, what they
Just
did.
like they repealed the building code.
Yeah, they didn't repeal it. All they did was cut the time from, if you, well, whatever, don't want to go into all that, but they didn't totally repeal the thing. All they did is made a footnote to it, is
Yeah,
what they did.
I knew they didn't repeal it.
They didn't repeal it. The law's still in effect. It's still on the books. And I ain't crying about the thing. I don't give a, oh yeah, you can't say that word. Anyhow,
Hoot.
yeah, that's
Don't
right.
give a
Good
hoot.
But anyhow, if you all could tell me any one of our rights that have ever been taken away from us by a foreign country or anything, I'd like to know. It seems to me like that every right that's ever been taken from us is taken from us by the people that we elect. Now, you let anybody, I don't care who it is, some foreign country, some tourist or anything, come right down here and tell us that we can't speak at the courthouse, and they would be an outright, they would be
Like man
bloodshed.
in North
and-
Korea, who probably didn't have anything to do with it
Well,
anyway.
that's right. Most likely they didn't. But anyhow, we have never lost a right to a foreign power.
Did
We've
you
lost
ever-
them to our elected
Did you
officials.
ever think of the advantages of Sharia law? If we had had Sharia law here in this county, a couple of our administrators would have had either their hand cut off or their head cut off.
I can think of a few I'd vote for just
Well,
to get
yeah.
them whittled on.
I guess, what do they say, the pendulum swings both ways, and I guess there's, for every action, there's a equal
Opposite
or
and
whatever.
equal reaction, yeah,
That's right.
they say that.
Well, I've said all along that, conversion to Islam might be a good idea. So one thing, they know how to, treat their kids and their women and keep them in order and in place.
Boy, you know, you made
Besides,
me,
you can marry 4 of them.
That's what?
You can marry 4 of them.
why just
Well, I
for,
couldn't
And
stand
if
for
you, hey, and if you drive through a drive-through and see a pretty young thing and get to flirting with her and she agrees to be your next wife, you can go home and just tell one of them 3 times, we're divorced, and throw her out. She don't get alimony,
Yeah, if you happen to get
she don't
inside,
kids, visitation, nothing.
if you get one in the elevator and have to knock her out and drag her through, they won't kick you out of football either.
Right.
That's right.
well now, fellas, don't be hitting on football. I believe football rates right up there kind of along with religion. Now,
There's some people that
I
does.
believe for some people it's getting up there about religion, so you better be careful.
You know, we should've worked on our, degrees in physical education, you know.
They didn't teach that down in Western Australia.
You, you see
You
what?
had to run barefoot, did you?
Yeah, well, you got one there too.
Yeah, I got
You
one
see
for
what Jim Harbaugh got for head coach at Michigan? $8 million a year for 6 years, guaranteed. If he don't win a game, he gets every penny of it.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Well, but that's what I'm saying. That's
But it's not,
our colleges
what
are
you
not about
win or
it.
not, it's just how you enjoy the game and you teach sportsmanship, that's what it's all
Yeah, they're
about.
not there. They're an institution of education, not of athletics. University of what, you say?
Michigan's the one that
Michigan.
hired him.
Yeah, our Jim Harbaugh, well, you take, I've said a number of times here that the University of Tennessee does not have a football team. That the football team has a university,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
Kinda like the basketball in North Carolina.
Martucci
You
ball,
read
yeah,
the-
they play that tonight, North Carolina does, plays at 8 o'clock
Did you
tonight.
read the Twitter, that third string quarterback for Ohio State who happened to beat Alabama? He said, we don't need to go to class. We're not recruited to get an education. We're recruited to play football.
Yep.
So finally, somebody in a high profile position spoke the truth.
Well,
Because that's what it's all about.
I've about come to the conclusion, just by seeing what goes on, that they ought to start paying high school students to play.
They're not going to class.
Well, but if we say we don't pay the college students, they get every kind of thing that you can think of.
We have one viewer.
And what's the difference? You can get paid without getting money. They get everything that
They
you
don't
can
have to go to
imagine.
class.
They don't. Well,
Hey,
Well, did you
Bob,
notice at
basket
the
weaving,
University of
basket
North Carolina, how many people they figured would run through that athletic crib course?
Hey.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 or 400 athletes went through there and received grades that kept them eligible to play.
but they didn't have to go to
University-
class, did they?
University of
No,
North
no, they didn't have to
Carolina.
go to class.
Didn't have to go to class,
University of North Carolina had a ghost curriculum.
right?
that athletes could sign up for these courses. They never had to go to class, never had to do any homework, didn't have to buy books or nothing. Got an A and stayed eligible.
I'd go sign up for.
And did you notice how quick they hushed that up?
Well,
Because all the universities are doing it.
Of course, you know that just, anything you see, it's not just one. It's the others.
And to remain competitive, they all have to do
Well,
it.
you know what, you can't play ball and study engineering. I mean,
Get your brains rattled.
Well, now, this Dobbs kid that's starting for Tennessee now,
I know that.
did you
But
see his schedule?
I don't know how in the world they do it, because there ain't enough hours. I can't understand how they do it. There ain't enough hours to complete the coursework and do much else. I mean, he's gotta be just a terrific athlete in order to be able to get his homework done and do
I'd
that.
say he's pretty bright, too.
Well, you have a lot of athletes that maintain a 4.0 grade average, but they're very, very exceptional.
Yeah, you have people who can do nuclear physics. It's not the intelligence to do it, the knowledge. It's the time. I built amplifiers and did computer programming and everything else, and they just ain't enough hours a day to do that and play football. Of course, they wasn't out there knocking on the door wanting me to come play no way, but
Maybe you were slow and it just took you longer to do this.
maybe, I don't know. Back then, we done computer programming, we punched cards, and with a lot of luck, you could run maybe 3 programs in a day's time. And that way you debugged. I mean, you have a stack of cards that tall and have one period out of place, and you had to run it through to see if there's something wrong with it, and then you had to hunt what was wrong with it. And then repunch the cards and send it back through.
And hope that didn't change something else.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only reason they had line numbering in computer code, was if you dropped your cards,
Yeah.
you could put them back in order. We used to shuffle people's cards and put them back in their drawer, or sprinkle water on them, they'd swell up and wouldn't go through the reader.
Oh, boy. I'd probably shot a man for doing that to me.
Well, I'm glad I came along before all of that. You know, there were no computers when I came along.
Well, that would have been better.
In your time, Bob,
we
they
were-
programmed in ones and
We were
zeros.
still using
punched
Chinese
holes in
beads,
a
Chinese
ticker tape.
beads, you know.
Now, you know, you came through when it was easy, and my kid come through when it was easy, but right in the middle, it wasn't easy.
Yeah, let me ask you something. We're not getting into too many things. I got something that I came across in a magazine that I was reading. It's a fairly reputable magazine, it's the Smithsonian. And scientists have come to the conclusion that there was not enough water left in the Earth's crust when the Earth was formed to produce all the water we have on the Earth. And the question is, where did the water come from?
Well, Noah,
Where?
it rained 40 days and 40 nights.
Yeah, but where did the rain come from? Where did the moisture
Well, back
come
in the
from?
beginning, you had the water circulating the globe, and then you had the
I
earth,
got a call of
and
what
that
we did
moderated
have.
Yeah.
the rainfall,
Yeah,
and
hold
it
on,
all
that's it.
failed.
What about Ronnie? Hey,
How are you, honey?
I'm doing good. What's happening?
Well, to know, is today the 4th, honey, or I'm lost in time?
Repeat,
Today's the 3rd.
day's the 3rd.
The 3rd.
Yeah,
Thank you, honey. Did you ever get lost in time?
yeah, Bob stays lost in time.
Yeah, there you go. You know, scientists says there's no such thing as time.
Well, now, I'll do it. I think everybody does. Some of them won't admit it, but now I think they do.
I've noticed this week's had 4 Saturdays.
And today is the 3rd, then.
Yes, ma'am.
See, I was ahead of myself, wasn't it?
Well, you've lost today. Now you're a day. Now you've gained today.
Thank you, honey.
Thank you.
See ya.
Yeah, I noticed all
Did
the
you know
Saturdays
that-
this week.
There are 4 days of the week that starts with the letter T.
Is that right?
Yeah, you know that?
No, I ain't never counted them.
Did you know there's 4 days of the week that starts with the
Was
letter
it
T?
today, yesterday, tomorrow, and
Today, yesterday.
Tuesdays and Thursdays and whatever?
Today and tomorrow,
Today, tomorrow.
Tuesday and Thursday.
Thursday and yes-
There's today and tomorrow.
Today and
Now
tomorrow.
that's
Yeah.
4 days, yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right, now look, you say the moisture was, in the atmosphere.
yeah.
Now,
Well, that poses another question. Is the moisture from Mars, which is dried up, still in the Martian atmosphere?
Well, no, it's falling in chunks
Ah.
here. It falls in chunks. You know, really, you know,
you gotta call.
it's surprising how much water that falls in on them there. How come we ain't got a ringer?
I don't
Falls
know,
in
we
on
got a
them
ringer
there
coming
asteroids and things.
Well, about Ronnie,
How you know you guys are stopping
Doing
up
great.
and go down there and say nothing at the courthouse, you know, about what you feel and say, but now if you go down there and you do something for the judge or do something for the law, you can say anything you want to then. You got more right when you do something for one of them than anybody in the town. Now, that's the truth. That's all I have to say, and thank you, buddy.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one.
thank
Thank you
you.
for calling.
Would that be called sucking up?
I don't know where that ringer's at on there.
Ringer off, ringer off.
Well,
Oh,
folks,
you'll find it
Well, let's
there.
see
a
if we
lot
can
of the
get
problems
4
we're
engineers
having,
to find it.
Hey, we got an engineer here, we can figure it out.
Ring, ring, telephone ring.
a lot of the problems we're having today with our current politicians,
Oh,
There it is.
Now, somebody calls, it'll do that.
Yeah, how about
yeah. What was that word you used, politician?
one of the problems we're having is they have watered down education to the point where nobody's getting any value out of education. People today do not learn how to act or react among his fellow man or with his fellow man. You know, when we had Greek and Latin in the public school curriculums, if you go back and study Greek and Latin, you know, the Greek gods, it was like a big soap opera. And we learned how to deal with our fellow man by studying how the Greek gods dealt with each other. And how to deal with each other on a logical, ethical, and moral framework. Today, they're not getting this background. You know, and you take the great Greek writers, Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, and then you got your great Roman writers, Tacitus, and many, many more. They wrote about how people should deal with one another.
Well-
And when you study Latin and Greek, you learn these lessons. You know, they don't even teach fables in school anymore. We used to learn a lot about what was right and wrong, and morals about life itself. And how
Aesop
to live.
wasn't no Greek.
Well, that came later. Are you saying Aesop ain't a Greek word? But these fables were life lessons.
Well, you kind of threw me a curve there when you started out at that. You used the word Greek gods. You meant Greek. Did you mean Greek philosophers or Greek gods?
Well, no,
The
if you
gods are
study the
mytholo-
Greek gods,
Gods
yeah, and their
Mythological.
philosophers, and the philosophers wrote about the gods.
wrote about them. Okay, I
and
got
the
you.
stories about the Greek gods, it was like a great soap opera of people how not to deal with each other and how to deal with each other.
I believe a lot of those were philosophers, weren't they?
We're not teaching this stuff in school
Now,
anymore. We
what
don't
do-
teach
what-
logic, morals, ethics, philosophy of life. So kids come out of school, they have no rudder, and they have no weather vane to
And
give
pop
them
culture,
direction.
that's what they teach.
Pop culture,
Yeah.
filthy rap music, nakedness, and they're dancing. Yeah, they're teaching a lot of things that are retroactive to loss of morals and ethics and just having a good sense of right and wrong.
Let me ask you something. You know, the transition has been made from, say, when I was a young lad in school.
When you
And
when you
I
had
don't know who
when
the
you
next
get sprayed in school,
eldest one is, But then right on up to the youngest member of this group.
That's me.
Now, my question is, exactly when did this erosion of morals, ethics, really begin here in our country?
Well, it began with Horace Mann, who was a Princeton graduate, and the Ivy League influence was to secularize our public educational system. Horace Mann was the father of public
Let
education.
me ask you something.
Then John Dewey, who was a devout communist, became the father of our curriculum.
Well, who was the
Let me
mother?
ask you something now.
No,
was
Mom.
the Greek,
Communists don't
There was
have
no
mothers.
was the Greek philosophers and their writings, was that secular or was that religious? Religious.
It all had a religious basis and foundation because Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and Fitzhugh Henry Lee and all these great early Americans went to private schools and were versed in Greek and Latin, and they knew. They also had studied Locke. And these
Stock and barrel.
Voltaire and Locke and all these philosophers about political philosophy and cultural philosophy, and we're not teaching that anymore. We have gone totally secular. Have you ever looked at Common Core?
Oh yeah.
It's the biggest piece of garbage that's come out of government yet, and it has one sole purpose: to basically destroy people's ability to do math. Because being able to do math is being able to think logically and to apply.
Well, they teach you how
That
to think
logic.
illogically.
Well, but under the old way, if you had one thing and then you had one more and then you put them together, you got 1 + 1 = 2. That's basic. That's simple, basic logic.
Yeah,
right
but the
there.
way you have to do it, you have to start out. Let me borrow them. Let me show you how you do this here. Common Core now, when you want to add 1 and 1, you say, I've got 1. And if I had this many, I'd have 10. So how many do I have to take away from it to put 2 together? So you have to take these away, and then you got 2. Anybody can see that.
Sure, that's logical.
And I got all the candy now.
You,
By the way, I run into a fella out in the hall.
What?
I run into a fella out in the hall we all know and love. His phone number is 562-9370. You know who I'm talking about?
You ran into him out in the hall?
Yeah.
You didn't have to call an ambulance for him, did you?
No, he's looking pretty good.
Okay. How's he doing?
He's looking good.
Good. Did he want to come sit in on the
Yeah, I
show?
guess he got more sense than that, but in case he don't, he's welcome.
Right, good.
We'd be talking about Mr. John Bond. I
Right.
think he's first cousin to James Bond.
is that a guy who believes in private enterprise and
Yeah.
actually went out and started his own business
Went out and started his own
without
business.
any funds or subsidies from
Well,
the
I don't
government?
know that the
And without
government
any
kicked him
commitments
in.
to government except what the law applies to his.
He walked out on that
business?
limb and took a chance and started a business, and he's good at it.
And the government went in competition with him.
Well,
using
they
the
always
tax
do.
dollars to compete with him.
Well, the governments don't have to make a profit. All they gotta do is send for more money, and he has to, here's what he has to do as a private business owner. He has to do everything the county does and still survive. And they do it and don't have to pay any bills. I mean, we always get
The
kicked
county can forget to do their paperwork and lose $675,000, and one 6-month period because they failed to do the paperwork.
Well, they
But
found, as I said.
A private company were to do the same thing, they would go belly up, wouldn't it?
5629370, is that right, Bob?
What?
5629370?
9370, that's if you want tender loving care and a good ride to a medical facility. Well, I expect they would just take you on a scenic tour if you wanted to, but,
Oh, that's the county ambulance service
Yeah.
that conducts the taxi service.
but, that's Vital Care Medical Transport Service. They've got a beautiful facility over there where they have their offices, where they keep their, units in a warm, heated bay, so if they get called out in the middle of the night, take you somewhere, they don't have to worry about sitting out there and letting their vehicle warm up before they pick you up. And they've got.
Speaking of government and taxes, I have a question. What's the difference in our sheriff having all his patrolmen in uniform and armed to the teeth, carrying their weapons at a county commission meeting to vote on a tax increase, and Al Capone going into a bar with his
Well, I
fellow
can
men
tell you
armed to the teeth
I can tell
to make
you,
that bar buy his beer.
I can tell you just exactly the difference. Al had to pay his own employees.
Good point.
We had to
And
pay
we
sheriffs.
paid, we paid
That's
for
right,
the
well-
sheriff to have everybody there to intimidate
Yep.
with all these weapons all the way around the wall in uniform. Would you have voted for that tax increase?
I would, I would not have.
I mean, how many of them were over there kind of fiddling with their pistols when that vote come up?
They just sat there.
Well,
let me
I
ask you a
I thought that
hypothetical
was-
question.
Okay.
was not the way it should be done. I can see a department head maybe rallying his people to support their position. But what if, all the school teachers came down to the school board meeting armed,
yeah.
you know? Or worse yet, what if all of us taxpayers
Went down there armed.
got.
Maybe that's what we ought to do.
I could go, I'd be in that crowd.
You know, we could take pitchforks and hoes and shovels and axes.
I've been looking
No,
for a
you
good
can't
home.
either. They consider, in most places now, a flagpole as a weapon. You're not allowed to have a flag on a stick in most places now. It's
I'm
considered
still
as a
wanting to know
weapon.
where I can find a good home.
Yeah,
We're going crazy in this
we're
country.
going crazy. That's all.
You were gonna have one of their hypothermal questions.
No, I've thought about it, and I think I better not ask it.
Oh,
because
come on,
some
ask it.
idiot
That's the great thing about
might,
this show.
might follow through on what I was just questioning myself
We
about.
don't encourage any
Uh,
violence here.
I just read a little article where a police officer, a county deputy in one of the lower counties, I can't name it right off, but anyhow, he
It's
got
lower than this one, it must
well,
be.
yeah, it must be further. I'm
Probably
talking about
the
from the south.
Oh, okay.
But anyhow, over in New Year's, he got arrested driving a patrol car.
Yeah.
A patrol car, drunk, with his 6-year-old son in the seat, unrestrained. So I believe he got fired. Probably rehired, but anyhow.
Well, he
Oh,
was suing.
Didn't know what his name is.
Well, he wasn't in Campbell County, but it's another place.
No, they get him.
He'll sue him for workman's comp for being
Yeah.
drunk on the job. That's a
Well,
handicap,
now, wait
isn't it?
just a minute. Wait a minute now.
Isn't that a handicap?
Now, wait a minute. You can't fire a person for being, if he declares himself an alcoholic, they cannot fire him.
True.
You can't. If you've got an employee who's addicted,
He comes under ADA.
that's right, you
American
cannot
Disabilities Act.
fire him. And even this, just like, I don't know what the offenses are, but I think that he would have to be reprimanded so many times, either verbally or in writing and whatever else, I believe.
Well, we've lost a few school teachers in this county for addiction, various substances and liquids.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe compensated.
You mean I can get me a job at the bank and get drunk and just carry me a bundle of money out of there and they can't fire me?
Now,
Not for being drunk.
I had somebody, I was we had a little discussion about the meaning of words. We're changing the meaning of words, and we've discussed this before. But another word just came up that the meaning is going to have to be changed, and that's illegal.
That's a sick bird, ain't it?
Well,
Well, what do you
an
think?
ill,
Hey,
you're right, yeah.
What do you think all these blacks are protesting
Well,
for right
but-
now? They're protesting to do away with our standard legal system as it applies to them. Now, the only problem with this is where the Muslims are protesting the American legal and justice system and police authority, at least they have a system to replace it with.
Yeah.
But the ones who are in the streets now,
Well, they got mob
protesting
rules.
against cops shooting citizens and protesting all across the country, is they have nothing to replace. They're
They
protesting
don't
our
want it replaced, they just want it abolished.
jungle law.
Right, yeah.
Well, if we've got a word that's no longer acceptable, and that's illegal immigrant. Aliens, illegal immigrants. We don't call them illegal immigrants, we call them undocumented.
They're undocumented visitors.
Okay, now let's say you're driving down the road and you don't have any driver's license and you get stopped. You're not operating illegal, you're an undocumented driver.
A drug dealer is an undocumented pharmacist.
Undocumented pharmacist, right there you go. And see, we're changing the meaning, and that's
Exactly.
great. You know,
No, we haven't
what do you
changed,
think?
no, we haven't changed the meaning of the words. Illegal immigrant still means the same thing it always meant. It's not the word, those words you're changing the definition for someone that's in this country without permission.
Is Bob an undocumented antiques?
I'm a documented idiot.
You have to be documented.
Anybody that comes from North Carolina's gotta be undocumented.
Right.
Well, do you have to be documented to
Now,
be an
you know,
idiot?
North Carolina owned Tennessee for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, if you read the original charter of the colony of North Carolina, it went from ocean to ocean.
Oh, I know that, yeah.
So actually, North Carolina one time owned everything to
Right.
Palo Alto.
Yeah, but then they,
Malibu.
then they found out that included California's route, they gave it up.
Oh, boy. But if you get caught out there driving, you're not driving illegal, you're undocumented without your driver's license.
No.
You saw where our illegal immigrants under the proposed amnesties that's coming out of the White House, were also allowed to get driver's licenses. Even though they're illegal immigrants, they've declared that they must be permitted to go take
I
their
think we're gonna
driver's
turn them
license.
loose on the road, y'all at least train them.
Now, I don't know why they need driver's license, they're driving anyway, but over 90% of them are failing the test. So we got all these illegal immigrants out there driving on the highways without a driver's license, can't even read the signs on the highway.
Well, Bob Ronnie,
Hello, Bob.
hey, how are you?
Happy New Year.
Same to you.
And all those other cohorts sitting there with you. Happy New Year.
We
Oh,
prefer
you
accomplice.
put it mildly when you said cohort.
I know it. I always try to be mild about it. I could be rough, you know what I want. I wanted to tell you, since I don't have your telephone number, this is the only way I can contact you. I brought your fruitcake by the other day, and I couldn't find you. So I'm going to drop it off at that guy that works there at your place, and you'll just have to get it if you can before he eats it.
Okay.
Because you like them and Ronnie don't, so Ronnie didn't get one, but you did, so that makes you special.
Okay, yeah, it does. I am special.
I know it.
I
We
ain't
all
but one of me.
yeah, just
Now,
one
if RL got one, I'm gonna be really, my feelings are gonna be hurt.
Well, I'd bring you one. I don't know how to get up with you, and Ronnie won't tell me, so he's protecting you, you know, like the dragnet.
Well, Ronnie's
Well, we
never
hope
been
you-
to my house.
Hope you've had a real happy New Year.
Oh, it's been great, but I've been sick for the last 2 days, but I'm better now.
Well, good.
And you guys keep up the good work. We appreciate you. And
Okay.
now I want you to get that fruitcake, and I want you to tell Ronnie and Ariel and Jerry how good it was.
I'll
Okay.
do that. I'll
Why
tell
don't
them.
you, why don't you give it
I
to
told
somebody
everybody
that's,
last year.
why don't you give it to somebody that's got some taste buds left? Then
No,
we'll get a
no.
more fair assessment.
Do you have somebody in
Surely they still
mind?
have taste buds.
Thank you, hon.
You all have a different scheme,
Right.
a different look to your show today. The camera angle is different, and it's nice. It's nice to enjoy seeing you all from this angle instead of seeing all that old ugly ceiling that we usually look at when we
Right.
look at you pretty guys.
And we have hired our own personal camera person.
Well, you guys always look good, but then we had to see that old ugly ceiling in order to watch you before, and it's
Right.
looking real good.
Right.
Well, quit
Well,
looking,
I've had
quit
to be
looking
picked-
up.
I've had to be picked off the ceiling a few times.
I've been picked up out of the floor time for myself.
Yeah, and off the floor also.
You probably will have to be again before it's all over.
I hope so. You know the wildest thing, at my age, you know the wildest thing I've ever done?
I'd like to know, what is it?
I hope I hadn't done it yet.
Oh, well, I'll hope that for you too. You can both hope that.
All
Oh,
right.
you pretty and sounded good. Bye.
Thank
Well,
you.
Thank you for the call.
Okay, now meanwhile, back at Digger's compound. Digger has a compound down in Sawmill Holler. Well, I call it a compound. It's a well-fortified, fenced-in facility that sits right in the middle of the road. And Digger sits there every day while cars are whizzing by. And you know what he says? They just run over me if you can.
I missed that.
We've got good propane.
Anybody got a breathalyzer to give us a
Got
test?
good, we got good propane. Gives you a full tank when you come in there. When you bring a 20-pound tank in there, you put 20 pounds in it.
You ain't been snorting that gas, have you, Bob?
What?
You ain't been snorting any of that gas, have you?
Not that kind of, not too
Oh,
good,
okay.
but what you used to do, I never did that. Kid couldn't keep his nose out of that gas tank vent. Oh, he sniffed that stuff all the time. That was back when we had the tank up on top of the pumps. You want a gallon, you pump a gallon up there, and then it would
Gravity feed.
side gravity feed right out, you know.
You know, I kinda grew up in the neighborhood of a kid that got hooked on that stuff. He died when he was 29. Pitiful, really. I mean, the time he got old enough to realize what he'd done to himself, it wasn't no help.
What is it in it's the vapor, what's in the vapor anyhow? What is in gasoline when you come right down to it? It's just a product of crude oil
I don't know.
refined off.
I
But
don't
then,
know.
never been there. I've smelled a lot of it, but it wasn't
Well,
intentional.
you know, it used to. I kind of liked. I didn't want to sit around and smell it all day, but I didn't think the smell of gas back the way it used to be was really that offensive. It didn't bother me. But since I went to putting benzene in it, got the lead out and replaced it with the carcinogen benzene,
Yeah.
I can't hardly stand to smell it now.
Well, I don't try to sniff any. I try to stay out of them with vapors.
I know, but you
Uh,
got to carry him home sometimes. If I ain't got a truck to haul it in the back, I just soon leave it there.
That's 562
54.
5444.
Oh, yeah, that's 5.
Wilson's propane. You need to go down to see him. If you need your heater tuned up, he'll do that. If you need a 100-pound tank, he'll fill that up, or 40, or 30, or 20, or whatever you got. It's going down there, its prices are, I think, will beat anybody around.
If you can get a legal tank in there any size, he'll put gas in it for you.
Said that right. In fact, he'll fix anything that'll burn. Of course, I took him something that he wouldn't like.
Well, you know, just 'cause he's a gas business don't mean he's dumb. Did you ever light it?
No, but I sold it to a man. I told him the whole story of it. He said, I like that thing.
You seen him
I
anymore?
ain't seen him.
If you did, you wouldn't
I
recognize
ain't
him.
seen him lately.
He might be in orbit, Bob.
Maybe that guy sold it on her.
No, I really haven't seen him. I meant to ask him exactly, how it turned out.
I'd say it didn't turn
That's
out good.
Wilson's propane. Got more flavors than Baskin Robbins has got flavors of ice cream.
Well,
It was going to be down to 11 degrees, they said, next Thursday night.
really?
Yeah. Of course, they'll probably change it, which is not unusual because we sit right on the bubble here where the weather is changeable. It's not that they just have a hard time forecasting 5 or 6 days in advance. We really do.
I heard somebody make a mention the other day about TV, and they show the weather all over the whole United States. Of course, I guess doggone it. Anyhow, it's all the same usually. You got a wind blows here and the snow's there and whatever else.
Well,
And
there's so
there-
much weather to deal
Well,
with, you
Well,
know.
Yeah.
don't you realize that the weather that you get on television, it's not a weather report, it's a production.
Yeah, it's
Here,
entertainment.
and we have
Yeah.
here, and then here, and up here, and down here, and over there, and when you get to, you say, what the devil did he say?
Well, when you get down to like TV,
I'm
Yeah.
just Margie
Okay.
myself.
who delivers it instead of anyhow. If you see a house blown away 10 years ago, and you see one blowed away today, they look the same. A house blowed away is a house blowed away.
Well, it
And-
was windy in both
Well,
occasions.
What difference? And everybody says the same thing. Well, lost everything and just glad to be here. And it's over and over the same thing.
What are they supposed to
Uh,
say?
Well, a blown away house is a blown away house, and they could show the same cut every time. It's kind of like that guy over there in Iran with that 50 cal machine gun up there. And I don't see how in the world he stood there and fired that 50 cal machine gun for 3 years.
It kicked him all the way down the bank.
Well, it never has melted the barrel down. He's still standing there firing that thing.
Right.
So looks to me like they could at least get a different cut or a different, show us something different. They're showing
Well,
the
let me
same
ask
thing.
you, wasn't that press person for Obama, did he go by the name of Baghdad Bob?
Well,
I think they all go by that name, Bob.
Back, well, there's another subject. I want to hit on something if we don't run out of time. But anyhow, the president, you don't see any clips or cuts or pictures. The only one that's allowed into the meetings now is the White House photographer. Because you don't want to catch him picking his nose or whatever else being shown, or a lot of the other things that goes on. It's all scripted to where we see only what we're entitled to.
Well,
But,
now that's nothing but fire. We got so ugly. We went on the radio.
well, we look a lot better on radio
I
than
know
we do
we
on
do.
TV, I know. But, you was, you made mention in this last election, the emperor or the president, there was a place that he got every single vote, up in the thousands, from 2 or 3 different locations, which is mathematically,
Philadelphia and Cleveland.
that's mathematically impossible for that to happen.
Yes.
That tells me that he did not win this last election. This last election
We'll
was
never
stolen.
have another honest election
Well, I agree with you.
nationwide,
Until-
and it will filter down to the local level.
I think it
Well-
started here and worked its way up.
Well, they had their people in place to doctor the election back in August.
Right.
William Beard and his people had all their people in the right places to manipulate that election. And, some good citizens got up there and,
Brought some attention to it.
brought some attention to it, and, the state stepped in and said there better not be any foolishness down there in Campbell County, so they all backed off. But that don't mean they'll back off next time.
I agree. But here's the point I'm getting at. That if they stole one or so many thousand votes there, that indicates to me that the election was stolen. That's just one place. Now,
Well, those were two key states. Ohio was a key state for whoever's gonna win the most, electoral college votes. And Pennsylvania was a key state, and both those cities were in those key states. And you also had, a county in Florida where they had 140% turnout.
140%.
Yeah, they,
Okay.
140%.
They still using punch cards?
Over the one, no, they did away with punch cards in 2000.
There
In
wasn't no
fact,
hanging chads?
punch cards was the most accurate way to vote in America. When they'd have recounts, you rerun them cards, it come out the same every time. But now with electronic voting, you can take a Windows utility and modify those files and they'll never know you've been there.
That's right.
It's, so that one county in, Florida, South Florida down there, it wasn't the one that Miami's in, but I think it was the one right above it, had 140% turnout of registered voters.
That was good, wasn't
And
it?
Florida
I mean,
was-
to keep encouraging people to come out. They
That
don't
was,
come out
that was
twice.
typically a Democrat county. Good point, Bob.
Bob,
They
don't
just
do
forgot
that.
They had voted one time and then voted again. Well, Bob Ronnie,
Hey, if you're anything like Campbell County, you can buy your votes.
You know, it's illegal to buy a vote,
Mine
I
ain't for
read
sale,
mine.
but it can be
but
ready.
did you know it's not illegal to buy a registration?
Not in Campbell County, it ain't. You can get away with anything.
I believe that's what one of our former county mayors, didn't he patent that saying?
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah, he sure did.
Have a good evening, you sound good.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I want everybody to know that my vote is not for sale, but it can be rented.
Well, now wait a minute. Why is it illegal to sell a vote?
Well, you can sell a registration. In fact, the Democrat Party, you send Jesse Jackson
I don't know
around
what's
several,
illegal to sell
several
one,
million
it's illegal
dollars.
to buy one.
and he would fly from city to city to city, and if their people went out there and registered a whole lot of people, they got $5. They got $5 for every card, every registration card. Well, the entrepreneurs would go down to the election office and buy a list, get all them
Fill it
free
out.
cards. Yeah, you can get all the free cards you want. They'd fill out, say 1,000 cards. Jesse give them $5,000 for that stack of cards, and all of them were already registered. But hey,
Yeah,
Well, do you reckon we could get him come to Campbell County? I'd like to register a few people at that
that'd
price.
be a good move. And
the
That's
there's
just kinda like a mailing list, ain't it?
yeah,
Go ahead.
there's several states, like you say, on the driver's license. They're going to give them driver's license, and I think that there'll probably be an executive order come down that they don't have to take
well,
the test.
Arizona tried to block this, and a federal judge overruled them.
Okay, once you got
One person against the entire state.
once you got your driver's license, there's nothing to get in your registration. You can be registered.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So actually, whenever you come right down to it,
That's what the Democrats
I've asked myself this question:
I
What?
try not to talk to myself.
What's the well? I spend so much time by myself. It's the only person I get to talk to.
Most of the time you make got a little sense every now and then.
What difference right now? What's the difference between these undocumented residents and a citizen? What benefits does a citizen have over an undocumented resident here? right now, with the executive orders that have come down, right now you've got, they're gonna be able to, have all the driver's license, social security numbers, you name it, whatever. There's only one thing now, difference between an undocumented and whatever that I see. They're entitled to all the medical, all the social programs and whatever, but they say they're not entitled to vote. This driver's license will give them maybe not the
Oh, they can
right,
vote.
but the ability to vote. And
Hey,
they
there was
will
a
be
friend-
voting.
There was a precinct
Okay.
worker in Cleveland, Ohio, bragged about
Yeah.
voting 6 times.
Yeah, I heard that, and I saw her on TV. Yes, she bragged
Bragged
about
about it.
voting 6 times. Now, why? Looks to me like if you stand up there and do something of that type, that the feds would be all over you. But now wait a minute, she was voting Democrat. She voted for Obama 6 times, didn't she?
Yes, oh yeah.
Okay, that tells me a lot. But here's what I'm coming back to. I got a feeling in this next coming election, whoever's going to win this election it'll be decided not at the ballot box. It'll be decided behind the scenes in a certain way. Now, whether it's Democrat or Republican, I feel that that's how it's going to be decided.
Oh, definitely.
So, I can think what I'm thinking. I don't want to say it because I don't want to influence other people in their way of thinking concerning the elections. But if you come back to it, these undocumented citizens, undocumented guests from south of the border, they've got every right that a citizen's got. They can join the military, they can drive, like I say, I'm repeating myself, but somebody tell me, what is it that the American citizen has, what rights they have, that the
Well, let me ask you something.
visitors don't have, or guests,
We're
or
losing
guests.
our right.
Let me ask
I'm
you
thinking
something.
about running down Mexico and swimming back across the Rio Grande.
Yeah. Let me ask you,
Get good suntan.
exactly what do you think these people come up here for? So they would not have medical care, so they would not be able to drive, so they would not be able to have these things?
I'll tell you what, Bob. You take a lot of people, let's say that you destroy your environment, and I'm not talking about I'm talking about the social and everything else, or you allow
The
your
social fabric.
Yeah, you let's say you destroyed or allow it to be taken away from you. It's a whole lot simpler to walk across that border than it is to clean up your own. You see what I'm saying? What?
RL, it goes back to this studying Latin. We could learn that the barbarians are not only at the gate is following.
Well,
The barbarians are amongst us now. They're taking over. Same
Well, you
way,
get back to this destruction.
same way Rome fell.
Hey, you get back to this destruction of the way of life that all of us have known most of our life, and I ask exactly when it really started to hit the skids. And I'm not a racist. I was raised in
Yeah. I don't think
a
that-
mixed race family, okay? And but when you bring a complete group of people and try to bring them into the mainstream of this country and try to get them to melt like all other people that have come to these countries have melted and blended, and you get a bunch of people that absolutely will not melt, okay? They will not blend. They will not mix in. You've got to start dancing like them. You got to start frizzing your hair like them. You got to start talking like them. You got to start wearing clothes that come out of the empty dumpster like them. You've got to do all these things. To me, that's what pulled the society down rather than raising anybody up. I don't think that group of people have been brought up one bit.
By the way, where did my tailor shop move to?
Huh?
Where did my tailor shop move to?
Your what?
My tailor shop?
You talking about the Goodwill, the Salvation Army? They closed.
Okay. And where am I gonna buy shirts?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, a lot of times you sit up here in this ivory tower thinking everything is great in the city.
Yeah.
They don't get out and ride like we do and see these empty doors. And when a city cannot support a Salvation Army,
I mean, that's where they sell stuff people
that
give.
ought to be a clue that things are not going all that well in Denmark.
That's what happens when you promote a street sweeper to mayor. Everything falls apart.
I'll tell you what, this situation of what Bob's talking about, whatever, it don't have to do with one person. The mayor can't make it or break it. He holds a
But
position.
he helps.
Well, he might assist it, but he can't make it or break
He
it.
has more power than he claims.
Okay.
When it goes against him, he has no power. When it goes in his favor, oh, I'm the mayor.
If you go
See how
back,
great I am?
if you go back to further down the pipeline, as far as the economy is in the pits, and they keep telling us that.
Now listen,
Okay.
our local politicians, our state politicians, and our federal politicians could solve our
Oh,
economic
sure they
problems.
could.
You know, it don't take no Einstein, a hillbilly like me can tell you that gas prices exactly foretell economic activity. Now, it don't take nobody to figure that out. They want to manipulate things. But now, if I can figure out how to stimulate the economy, they can too. I know if you encourage a business to go in here, and if you encourage them every way you can, and I don't mean give them money, I mean just grease the skids. If they want to expand their transmission shop, don't tell them they got a core drill to China.
I agree.
And
Now
you
that
gotta do it my way.
Yeah.
That's a mayor,
Well,
that's what the mayor said.
fellas,
Hey, you do everything my
fellas,
way, you can do it.
That thing is coming down from the state. And that-
No, it ain't done it. I know
No,
the
that's
state, I know
local.
that if the local
Okay.
politicians got no say, then we don't need to be paying them.
Well, I agree to that.
If a man can't go out there and say, look, this is my jurisdiction, I'm going with this local businessman, I'm going to be with him, and we'll argue,
Well,
and then I'll come home with my tail between my
that-
legs if I need to.
I
I don't just go out there and throw in the hat and say, the state says it has to be
You know,
done.
they blame everything on the state.
We elect them to represent us, but they don't represent us. They represent themselves, their relatives,
Their
and
own
friends,
best
and the
interest.
state.
Their own best interest.
Yes.
Well, let me
They
tell
don't
you,
represent
let me
the
tell you
people
about a
elected.
business that represents nobody but 250,000 outlets
What
for
does,
auto
what
parts.
does NAPA stand for,
NAPA.
Bob?
Right, and sooner or later he's gonna learn what NAPA stands for. But I went there today and I bought a caliper for my, not a caliper, but a rotor for my truck.
Yeah.
Did you know their rotors are probably 3/16 of an inch thicker than what you get at your box
If you
store?
think 3/16 ain't much, you ain't been going down the hill in a
Well, yeah, if you're
snowstorm.
going down Peabody Mountain, you know, it's guaranteed not to start smelling when you go down Peabody Mountain. So that's Napa Auto Parts, located right up here across from the IGA, right on the corner of Jacksboro Pike and Old Jacksboro Pike. They've been there, I guess, forever, I don't know. But you can go in there. And you wouldn't know how, I went to another store the other day, it was late at night, and the belt come off my little truckie. I go up there with a flashlight, it was 6 inches too short. I had to go back down there and trade it for one. And then they wanted $5 more for that one that was 6 inches longer. I said, who's gonna pay me for this trip back down here to do all this, you know? So they finally knocked it down for the same price. So you go to Napa, I guarantee you ain't going to have to make 2 trips to get the correct size belt for your vehicle, or to get the right shoes or pads for your vehicle, or the right caliper that you need. That's Napa, that's 562-2529. So you need to go see him. Randy will be there. Randy ain't there, he's fishing.
The fish ain't biting, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, so the chances are he'll be there.
Well, fellas, I'm gonna say something here before we run out of time.
You better talk quick. man.
Okay, now what y'all are saying about this thing down here on this transmission thing, the mayor and the city council could stand up and say, we're gonna take care of this, and the state can do whatever they wanna do.
If they were representing our people,
Yeah,
that's what
I'm
would
saying.
happen.
That's what I'm
If
saying.
they had backbone and
Well-
integrity and honesty, that's
Right.
what would
This
happen.
is what I'm saying
They would
is,
tell Mr. Inman,